Welcome back to What Makes You Tick. I'm Stephen Bradshaw, and the reason I created this podcast is to help you find inspiration from the stories and experiences of others. What Makes You Tick is a vehicle for people to share their life's knowledge, their passions, and experiences with you. I get energy and inspiration from talking to people, and my goal through this platform is to help you learn from others and use this knowledge to inform your lives. So let's continue the conversation with Will Purdue. We delve a little deeper into the reason behind Will's passion for songwriting and essentially what makes him tick. On this part of the episode, we discuss the process he has when it comes to songwriting and why he does what he does. Will talks to me about his career goals and his love to create something he is so proud of, and he does this through music. So let's get straight to it. I hope you enjoy part 2 of my discussion with Will Purdue. Let's move on a little bit. So just in talking about the year that we're in at the moment, 2020 has been a very challenging year for everyone. And I know we touched on it a little bit earlier on, but let's delve a little deeper into this now, because with every challenge comes opportunity. And looking at yourself, what do you believe has been your greatest challenge this year to date?
I think the greatest challenge this year is kind of keeping the faith really across the board that hope, everyone's going to be, hopefully everyone's going to be okay. And hopefully, it's really keeping the faith and keeping the belief like in myself. And just hoping that things will get better fundamentally, and trying to look after myself well enough in this period. And also, hopefully if I look after myself, I can look after others that I care about as well. So I felt there's been like a lot of people, quite a responsibility to look after my mental health, to try and support, my partner and my family and the people that I work with and stuff as well. So I think that's been the challenge, is to really try and keep looking after my mental and physical health.
And tell me, do you have any kind of tools that you have in place to help you with that others might be able to learn?
Yeah, from? I mean, I think I had a list years ago of things that helped, but there's kind of almost, it's more like daily routines, I guess. I have a bath most evenings, to the point that I normally don't even think about it. I'll either listen to a podcast or read a book. Exercise is massive for me. And I've completely transformed that. I used to be really kind of gung-ho into my training sessions and stuff, and then I'd be knackered for a few days, and I realized that now I need to train pretty much every day, so I need to rein it in a bit and be a bit more consistent but kinder with it, and use it as more of a kind of mental health and expression thing. Getting to sleep, just going easy on myself a bit. That at the moment there's only so much you can do. There's important stuff that needs to get done, and then there's some things, is in regards to restrictions, there's nothing I can do to control that. So, and that's how it is, and just trying to accept the things that I can't change, really.
That's brilliant, because again, you're reminding me so much of a conversation I had with Kieran Ruddock, who is a performance director of Fitter, Faster, Stronger gyms here in Ireland, in Dublin. And one of the big points that he spoke about was to control the controllables. So to take care of the things that are relative to you. So what can you take care of? You can take care of your sleep. You can take care of your attitude. You can take care of your nutrition. You can take care of your fitness and your activity. And if you can put all those things together and create really good kind of habits, that sounds like what you've done is that you've naturally just created these habits, like going to having the bath and training and being kinder and getting your sleep in and looking out for people, that if you can do that consistently, control what you can control, then the rest of the things they'll all just fall into place. You know, a lot of people spend so much time worrying about things that are completely out of their control that it becomes irrational, and they build up anxiety about it. And to have the ability to step away and look at what is in your kind of surroundings right now is the best thing to do, because you can't, as you say, you can't control whatever happens with restrictions or what government's running what. You just control you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I've kind of really, it's what's been interesting actually with anxiety and the lockdown is that it's the first time in my life I've really felt it physically. Like I can feel my chest tighten, and I can feel the change in my body. And it's funny, a few people have said that, like, and that's been interesting. But I kind of feel like the moment it's quite hard not to be anxious about stuff. So I can't add to that. Like I've kind of accepted, like, you know, for example, with releasing the song and stuff, there's a lot of stress around that and anxiety, but a certain amount of that is going to be natural. But I can't add any on top. So, you know, the stuff that's kind of natural, I'm kind of saying to myself, you know, that's par for the course, but I can't afford to stress on other things that I can't change because it's just too much. And that's going to stop me, and it's going to create kind of issues and maybe me making bad decisions.
Yeah, do you know what? You're dead right. Like I can relate to that, because every time I put out an episode of this podcast, every time the build up to it, there's so much anxiety that builds up, and then you just press publish and it's out there. And then I always go back to, what's the reason I'm doing this for? The first reason is for me, because I'm learning loads and I'm learning about what tools I can use and learn from others to help me have a better life. The second thing then is that I'm also doing it to help others. And if my intent is right, then forget about the noise and the begrudgers and all that stuff, because there's always going to be that when you put things out there. I suppose if you can stay focused and steadfast on your intent of why you're doing something, then it doesn't matter what anybody else says, you know?
For sure. And I think that's something I realized with gigging, in that, like, if I've done a gig, I find it's really hard to sleep. I find it really hard to eat well, and I feel quite low the next day often. And I've kind of been looking at that in that some of it is difficult to change. Like being able to sleep is tricky. And also feeling a little bit under the weather the next day is kind of happens. But there's been stuff that I've been able to fix. So now I eat really early before a gig. I don't eat after, which helps me sleep better. I don't have any caffeine, you know, before the gig, and that side of things. And that's really, trying to work out what's the natural part of doing something creative or doing something that challenges you, and what's kind of your part in it. So for example, like say with a podcast, or like say I'm releasing something, if I'm going back on Instagram or whatever every 10 minutes to see if it's got more likes or comments, that is not good for anxiety. And also it's then I've kind of changed my value system from doing something that I'm really proud of and sending it out in its way, to the value of it depending on how people receive it every 10 minutes, which is just not helpful.
No, I think that's a really brilliant way of looking at things, is that, what's the value you're doing it? Are you proud of what you've produced and created? And if you are, then so be it, and let it run its course. I think that's really interesting way of looking at things. And I suppose it leads me on to the next area I'd love to chat to you about. And it's about kind of legacy in a way, in that if you were to leave a message behind, you had a piece of paper and you had to write one message on it, what would it be, and why would you choose that message?
I think I would go for something along the lines. Remember, I like to rewrite things about 50,000 times, but they would be along the lines of that you have something worthwhile to offer. So basically, I feel like everyone has really interesting views and things to give other people that could really help in very different ways. So like, for example, my dad is incredible at fixing things, just incredible. Like, give him anything and he'll find a way to fix it, and he's got a really great mind for that side of things. And he's, you know, not sporty or musical, which are the two things that I am. And I have no idea for that kind of, you know, mechanical stuff. And he's got so much to offer in that way, which is absolutely brilliant. And for me, like with my music, I feel like I have things to say, and I feel like my song can hopefully offer something. And that's been the main thing that's kind of propped up my self-esteem with it. Because I think it's so easy to compare yourself to other people and forget that actually you've got something very unique. And, you know, whether it's like 10 people that absolutely love that and benefit from that, or like 10,000, it's a really special thing. So, for example, one of my songs in the last EP was called My Best Friend Died on the 6th of June. And it's a really dark song. And someone messaged me to say, actually, the 6th of June is a really important date for me. He lost his wife on that date. And he said he really loved the song, and it really is there for him on that day. And he knows that he'll listen to it every year. And it was like, really like, wow, this has really reached somebody. And it's such an amazing thing.
Yeah. How did you feel when you got that message? Because for example, when you put something out there, you have something in mind, but everybody's got their own story to tell, right? As you say, everybody's unique. So how did it feel when that message came back to you, in that that's incredibly tough for that person, you know?
It was just really special in that, you know, there's been time, like, for example, I had a breakup years ago, and I would listen to Leonard Cohen's Chelsea Hotel No. 2 around, I would say, 6 to 10 times every night before I went to sleep. And it was like the only thing that would get me to sleep in the end. And there was something in that song that really helped me at that time. And actually, you know, even if just one person found like you know, the podcast inspired them to change career, or like just completely change something for them, or it was just there when they needed it, it's such a incredible thing, and makes you really feel like just really glad of doing it.
Yeah.
And also that all the rubbish parts of doing stuff like that's challenging has paid off, because actually what you've done is the thing that you've created has reached someone and meant something to them. So all the other stuff has been worthwhile because you've kind of achieved it.
Brilliant. Yeah. I think that is the summary of that, really, is that through all the challenges and hardships and potential failures, that it helped form and mold something that you created that ultimately had a really positive impact on somebody else. And you take all those hardships and failures and challenges again in order to create that feeling for somebody, which I think is amazing. Let me talk to you now about just taking into account your art and your passions. Obviously, the name of the podcast is What Makes You Tick. But could you tell us, essentially, in your own words, what it is indeed that makes Will Purdue tick?
So I really love this question, by the way. I think because it would be very easy to answer it on a surface level, but I know that you're looking for more than that, hence the point of the podcast. I think it's such a combination of things. It's such hard to put like percentages and all this on. I think fundamentally, I make music to make myself feel better. So my favorite bit is the writing at home by myself. And that the reason for that is, even when I feel really rubbish, if I write something that I think's, you know, quite nice, that gives me a pride that I can't get anywhere else. And it also just gives me, I don't know, it just gives me a lift and an emotional clear out in a way. So there's that side of it, and the recording, like, and gigs. I love getting together with my friends and making music. And it's so often easy to forget that's what it should be about. Like, that's the real kind of magic part of it. But then there's also the other side, which is like, I would rather 500,000 people heard the single than 5. And the reason for that is going to be an ego one, that I would like to kind of, it feels good when people enjoy what you're doing. It feels really good, and I think you have to be very careful of that. And I would say I'm fairly aware of that, but I think it's got to be watched quite closely, because it could be easy to, for that to make me tick more than the real kind of purposeful side.
Yeah, so the it's interesting because there's nearly 3 angles to it. You've got the process and actually writing and nearly getting to a state of flow where you're creating something, and then when you look back and you go, geez, I'm really proud of that. Then you've also got the process in terms of the social and the community aspect of things, where you're with people and the people give you energy that you're around. And then you've also then got, which you're obviously aware of, it kind of goes back to the Instagram likes or whatever, is that to be aware that, do you know what, yeah, do you know, I'd love to be reaching 5, 10, 15,000 people and more. But that's not the reason I'm doing it. If I reach all those people, amazing. But if I reach 5, it's still just as gratifying. And trying to obviously spread the net as wide as you can, but being mindful that, right, the original reason for this is me.
Yeah, and the actually probably the fourth angle is there's things that I really want to. So basically, my whole thing early on with my music was like, how far can this go? Because kind of from the angle that, and I'm still there, I guess. How far can my music go? How much can I improve? Like, what's the potential of it? But my 3 goals have always been, I'd like to be on Radio 2 or 6. Play Glastonbury Festival and play Hammersmith Apollo, and they're my 3 career goals. And I don't really care about much else, but you need some level of success to do those things. So the kind of middle ground of the people liking it and getting the exposure, I do need that to get to where I want to get to. But it's just staying kind of motivated and with the clear view of what I'm aiming for. Yeah. So I want to do music like my whole life, and there's things that I'd really like to achieve. So I do need some level of success to do that, but I don't want to chase the success and lose all of the other.
Well, that's brilliant, because if you actually stick to that kind of mantra and that philosophy, like, nobody knows what's going to be the next hit. Nobody knows what's going to be the next kind of the best song ever, or the best breakthrough artist, because they did, like, sometimes a song might be on an album and it mightn't be the most liked song by the artist, but it's loved by the people listening. You just got to keep doing what you're doing, right? Because eventually then that one song or that one piece that you create will hopefully break through. And as you say, then you become that overnight success that the National and the rest of them were like after 10 years in the making,
Exactly. And also I really want to do it for the long haul. So it kind of rules out trying to do anything trendy or like anything that's current, because I really want to do this for the next, I want to be like old guy on stage.
Like Elbow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I think
it's just really keeping very, very clear in my mind what I do, the reason that I do music, which ideally is to feel proud of myself for creating something, to have a good time with my friends, and to experience things that I haven't experienced, and maybe I wouldn't also experience things that I wouldn't believe I could experience.
Amazing. I think, listen, you stick to your guns and that mindset, and good things are only going to happen. Like the opportunity that you've just done with Heart and Fire, and the single that you've created there now is something that I'm hoping will reach the masses. I think you've got incredible partners with Riona and Keith, who will be upcoming guests on this show as well, and looking forward to talking to them about their experience as well. But what's next for you, Will, now? What's the next challenge?
So I think we're going to So I'm kind of feeling we're going to really push the single the next few months. Obviously with Keith Mariana's challenge and that side of things. I've got some other songs that I'm working on at the moment. So depending on how that all goes, we might release something as well. I've got a few kind of creative ideas on that front. I kind of want to get back into my creativity, and because I've been doing a lot of stuff with this single in regards to kind of the admin side, that I'm looking forward to just doing some more writing and so on, and just see what happens with next year. I mean, there's talk about maybe some European gigs and so on, but again, we'll see what happens when it happens.
Yeah, well, listen, you'll always have the support of this show anyway, that's for sure, and from myself, and anything we can do to help, just ask. Like, honest to God, there's the one thing I always learned about this is that you don't know unless you ask, and if it's a no, you're in the exact same boat as you were before you asked. If it's a yes, who knows what opportunities are out there, you know. So listen, Will, thank you again for taking the time and for sharing your stories with me and my audience, and really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me on. It's been really good. You set my heart, you set my heart on fire.
So if this is your first time listening, please subscribe to the What Makes You Tick podcast and leave us a review and let us know what you thought of this specific episode. Tag and share us on Instagram as well. All you need to do is visit whatmakesyoutick.net, where you can leave a comment, you can send me an email, or you can visit me on Instagram at whatmakesyouTickPod, or again at Twitter at StevieBrads. Until next time, everybody, thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves and take care of everybody around you.